Thank you all for joining us today for this announcement. I want to thank the council members for joining me. I want to thank Mayor Bartholomew for being with us. He served as president pro tem of the New Orleans Public Belt Reorganization. Cindy Connick is with us, who's the executive director of the Rivergate Development Corporation and the Piazza d'Italia Corporation. We have many members of all of the city boards and commissions that are with us today, and I thank all of them for coming. As you know, when we came into office, we inherited a $100 million structural gap that represented about 25% of the city's budget. That is a very, very large hole. We set about, with a new organizational structure in city government, getting rid of that gap, both in real dollars and structurally as well. We have a method of moving forward on governing the city. It's called cut, smart, reorganize, and reinvest, because we are trying to build a sustainable city for the ages that is resourced appropriately. It is absolutely true that in today's time, in the environment that we find ourselves in with the global financial crisis, with a Congress that is stuck, and with a state government that continues to downsize, that the City of New Orleans government has to do that as well. And so we, every day in this building, try to find a way to create a smaller, more efficient, effective, entrepreneurial, and flexible government that has no toleration for waste, fraud, inefficiency, ineffectiveness, or abuse. And in that regard, we have, over the last couple of years, presented budgets that reflect that, and next week we will present a budget to the City Council that reflects that as well. But on the executive side of the ledger, we spend a lot of time making sure that we're working as smartly as possible, and that has led us to today. As you can see, from 2010 to now, we've reduced government spending by more than 8% from 2009. The budget that we propose next week will reflect similar reductions in expenditures. Today we have 66 city boards and commissions that were created by the city. They address issues that range from public safety to historic preservation. As many of you may recall, in early 2012, we set about aggressively restructuring the Public Belt Railroad Commission. We also did the same thing with the Municipal Yacht Harbor and have concluded both of those reorganizations. So today we're going to take another very large step forward. We are today announcing that we are reducing the city-operated boards and commissions by 17%. We are, in fact, eliminating 11 boards. These responsibilities that these boards currently have will be transferred to other agencies. In most of these instances, we are not eliminating services, but just trying to find a better way to deliver them. For example, we are going to eliminate the New Orleans Affordable Home Ownership Board. These properties will be transferred to the New Orleans Redevelopment Authority. We will eliminate the Board of Electrical Examiners, Board of Examiners and Operating Engineers, and the Board of Mechanical Engineers. Just the titles make them all seem redundant. These three boards no longer meet. Right now, the not-for-profit businesses and organizations will administer their professional exams. The Coastal Zone Management Advisory Committee was created by executive order and is already being taken care of by other organizations in city government. For example, the Upper Pentauba Building Corporation will be merged with the French Market Corporation. They functionally are in the same space and can do the same thing. The New Orleans Metropolitan Youth Commission as well. The Delgado Albania Plantation Commission. Those responsibilities will be taken over by the City Board of Trust. The Administrative and Enforcement Advisory Committee no longer meets. It's been replaced by monthly meetings by organizations within the executive branch of government. And, for example, the Rivergate Development Corporation and the Piazza d'Italia Corporation, all of their responsibilities will be transferred to the Canal Street Development Corporation, which has been run ably for a very, very long period of time by Cindy Connick. And so, as you can see, we always look across the activities of city government and try to find ways that are some are obvious, some are not, to merge them into a much more efficient, tighter, more entrepreneurial, more flexible organizational structure. And that's what we are doing today. We have already completed, as I said, the reorganization of the New Orleans Public Belt and the Municipal Yacht Harbor. Upcoming now will be the French Market Corporation and the Canal Street Development Corporation. And as a matter of transparency, all of these meetings that these boards and commissions have will be public meetings. They'll be posted to the redesigned NOLA.gov website. Information about all boards and commissions can be found there as well. So again, another step in the right direction that improves efficiency and is going to reduce the cost of government and we think produce a much better result. I want to specifically thank all the members of the City of New Orleans that are standing with us today, these citizens who for free volunteer their time, their services, and their expertise. They really do a wonderful job on behalf of the people of the city, and so I want to thank them for that. So with that, I'd like to call up Mayor Bartholomew, who served as the chairman of the reorganization of the public belt, to talk a little bit about what that process was like, and then after that, Cindy Connick, who has been doing this for some time, and then some of the council members, and then I'll be happy to take questions. Mayor Bartholomew, thank you for your service. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I ran into the mayor one day, and he asked me to serve on Public Belt Railroad Commission. There were several things going on that was, as you all may remember, in the news media at the time. And I said, Mr. Mayor, I'm really busy. He said, oh, it's only going to take 3 months. So you'll be out. Well, it took about 2 years, but to follow in the direction that the mayor has set, we got together with the intent of reducing the size of the board. It was 16 members then. And we formed committees, and the committees functioned so well that the Public Belt Railroad actually improved in its operation. It developed a public purpose, and it ran much more efficiently than it did before. As he mentioned, it saved money, and now I think it's still running at a profit, even though it doesn't make a profit, but it does pay for its budget and has some money to do the kind of physical improvements that's necessary. And I want to thank the mayor for giving me this opportunity. He gave us a very, very good board and excellent staff people, and all were working together, and we managed to accomplish what he had directed us to do in reducing the size of the board, making it more efficient, and running it with a public purpose. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of the Board of Directors of Canal Street, Rivergate, and Piazza d'Italia Development Corporations, I am pleased to say that we're very happy to be part of this merger and this consolidation of the three public benefit corporations, and Mr. Mayor, your efforts to streamline city government. You know, in the past, the three downtown public benefit corporations shared a geographic area, but very little else. And more recently, the Board of Directors, many of whom are here today, decided and agreed to, in anticipation of the merger, to streamline staff, office space, and some administrative functions, anticipating this merger. So with that, we've saved about $150,000 annually with those actions taken by the board. The Canal Street Development Corporation, which has the broadest mission, is pleased and able and willing in anticipation of taking over the Piazza and Rivergate's mission. And we look forward to being good stewards of those properties as well as the properties that are currently in the Canal Street Development Corporation's portfolio. And I would be remiss if I, too, didn't thank the members of the Board of Directors of all three corporations, many of whom you see here today, who work tirelessly to be good stewards of the public property and the public trust, and free of charge, and have never hesitated to come to the staff's assistance when we needed their expertise. So thank you very much for allowing us to be part of this process.
Jackie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've asked for this for 20 years. I'm glad it's finally here. And thank you, Mayor Bartholomew, for being a part of it, because you and I talked about this way back when. And it's always been, I think, a vision, but now it's a reality. It's not only more efficient with still delivery of services, I think the services will be better because of the efficiency of scale and because of the excitement of committees that are actually accomplishing something. And I've seen this because I've served on just about all of these committees over the years. I'm especially proud to serve on the Canal Street development, and I think it's the perfect place for all of these public-private ventures that are so important to what we create in this city, and especially in this next era. So I'm proud to stand here with you, Mr. Mayor, both mayors that I served under, and consider it a privilege, and Cindy Connick especially, who might be more important than two mayors, but you ought to see her run this ship. And but I want to thank you all because I'm so glad it happened before I leave. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Susan.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. The City Council's Governmental Affairs Committee is the committee through which all of the nominations for boards and commissions pass on their way to the City Council for vote. And I've been honored to be the chair of that committee, and so have watched some of the changes and participated in some of the changes that have been happening over the last couple of years, particularly with the New Orleans Public Belt Railroad and with the New Orleans Municipal Yacht Harbor Management Corporation, of which I am a member of that board. These boards, by the changes we've made in them, they've become more efficient. They are better able to get a quorum, and their operations are becoming more effective. So it's thrilling to continue this work. Again, as chair of the Governmental Affairs Committee, I'm often at the end of my meetings thanking everyone who has been is being nominated for a board or renominated for all of their time and effort that they put in on a volunteer basis, because they are motivated, as we are, to move our city forward and to make it a better city in which to live. So I think that now, with the combination of some of these boards and commissions, we're also making them more efficient. And as Councilmember Clarkson said, it will, I think, energize a lot of these boards. So it's a very noble purpose the mayor has embarked on, and I know he started talking about this right when we got into office. So it's good to see it moving forward. Thank you.
All right. Any questions? To be anybody else? Mr. Eggleston should have seen you in the room today. Took over Donzi's spot.
Is there a dollar value on how much been saved by these moves?
Well, it's going to save us money. I don't know exactly how much it's going to be, but you can understand, like, just say, for example, from Cindy's perspective, if you have 3 less offices and 3 less separate staffs, right, and 1 board, then all of a sudden you decrease. I think she used the number $150,000 just on that one. 17% of the boards are being eliminated, so you can extrapolate the dollars. But at the end of the day, it's not just about the exact dollars and cents. It's about being as efficient as you possibly can, not having things that are duplicative and or redundant, and things that work a lot better. And boards, and in the instance of the public belt, for example, since it got financially back on track, all of a sudden now it's starting to produce, on the plus side of the ledger rather than on the negative side of the ledger as well. But if we have those statistics, we'll get them to you.
And how many of these changes do they require legislative action?
None of these require any legislative action. I can do these by executive authority, which I am going to do today. As I told you, and since a student of student government, you would have picked this up, that today we talked about 66 boards and commissions. There are actually 132 that affect the city, but those are not necessarily city boards. Some of them are state-created boards. A Surgeon Water Board would fall into that category, for example, the Regional Transit Authority, the Aviation Board, things of that matter. When we come forward with proposals on those kinds of boards, it takes a little bit more time because you have to engage other stakeholders, because they're the ones that have the responsibility or the authority to actually accomplish the feat.
Sabrina, do you have anything?
Yes, Sabrina.
Mayor, of course, NOAA has made headlines, and some of them not very flattering. How will this
None of them were flattering.
how will this change, though, impact people who were served by NOAA?
Well, first of all, I'm going to let Brian and Cedric answer this issue, but especially in these boards and commissions that nobody was paying attention to and then untoward things happened, greater oversight is going to make sure that folks that are running those organizations don't do poor things. Secondly, when you pull them under already organized and well-functioning organizations, the chances of that happening are much less. So Brian Lawler is here, that is actually the one that's going to be overseeing that particular board, so I want him to respond directly to your question.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sure.
The mayor was very clear when he gave several of us directions to go to NOAA and close it down. So the first thing we did was to go through and make sure we knew all the assets that they had, all the properties, all the bank accounts, did inspections of all the properties, made sure that only people who were supposed to be living in these properties were living there. A lot of people, when we came and knocked on the door, voluntarily left. Since then, we've straightened out the accounts. We've cleared all the titles to property and transferred them to NORA, who will be disposing of them, some of them at the auction on Saturday. We have one property that is still continued to be occupied by a income-eligible person. That will continue to be his residence, and we're going to find an operator to run that property. The corporation is defunct. The accounts are closed, and it's no longer in business, although we all know that it's very actively being pursued with the U.S. Attorney's Office. That's the other thing that I should add, that we, in our course of our investigation, found several boxes of files that the U.S. Attorney did not have in the properties, and turned them over to them immediately.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
You talk about smaller staffs, is that supposed to any job losses because of this?
I don't know. I don't think so. There are not any job losses.
What about, do any of these boards have per diems? Is there any development on that?
No, we had a discussion in the back. They were requesting for per diems, and they were denied. They were denied summarily, but we don't have. We actually, I'm not sure. I should know the answer to that question, but I don't think we have a per diem on any board and commission in the city of New Orleans. They're about to form a union and ask me for back pay. You hurt me here.
I think last one.
Right, exactly. Go ahead, Danny.
We didn't hear about any talks about if you're going to try to, restructure, make other changes, including sewage and water board at some point. Can you talk about any other ones you plan to do?
No, I'll talk about them when I announce them. But there'll be more coming. This is, again, this is not just a one-shot approach. You have seen our way of governing every day is to cut smartly where you can, to reorganize so that it's more efficient, and then to the extent that there are savings, you want to reinvest those in the priorities that the citizens give us. It's one of the reasons why the council members and I spend so much time doing community meetings. We did 5 major community meetings this year. There were an average of 500, and one of the meetings had 1,000 people at it. Those meetings lasted a good 3-4 hours. For those of you that attended those meetings, you knew that we stayed until the end. We were the last ones to leave. We got a really good sense from those meetings what the priorities of the public were. So any savings that we realized from making government more efficient and more effective, we want to reinvest in those priorities. You know, street lights, blight, public safety issues are really important. But that is a process of governing that we try every day to replicate, because we believe that if you do it over and over and over again, eventually you're going to create a much more efficient and healthier and stronger government, whether it's big or it's small. And whether it's big or it's small will be dictated by things in many instances that are outside of our control. So what we're trying to do is understand where we are in time and place and be able to respond smartly to the circumstances that we find ourselves in, and to govern as well as we possibly can and make sure that we add value. The other thing, too, in response to no question, we have a zero tolerance for wasting public money. And it adds insult to injury when we have boards and or commissions or organizations inside of government or attached thereto that are giving things to people that don't deserve them or are wasting money. And we have to really give the public great confidence that we're spending their limited resources in a really important way as we move New Orleans from where she is to where we all want her to be on her 300th anniversary, 2018. Everybody keep that in the top of their mind, 300. It's a big, big number for us, and something that we have to govern towards. That's our World Cup, that's our Super Bowl, that's our Olympics, when we will be able to show the rest of the world what a city that stood itself back up through the most difficult times will look like when everybody's pulling in the same direction. All right?
Can I say something, Mr. Budget Chairman?
Yes,
Because the mayor said we're operating 8% smaller, and to translate that for you, government's been operating on $40 million a year less, and I think that kind of rings a bell and brings it home, and has improved services. They've become more efficient. So that's why this fits right in line. When a lot of volunteer people that are busy would come to these meetings that wouldn't have a quorum and waste their time, and people would come for services that weren't delivered, it's going to be much more efficient to have these combined boards that will meet, will have